From Love Island fame to a PE teacher, a car dealer and criminal offences, it's been 9 years since Love Island first aired on our TVs back in 2015. There were 23 islanders, and in this video, I'm going to cover all 23 of them, what they look like then, bit of nostalgia, jog your memory, then I'm going to showcase what they look like now and what they're doing with their lives now. I'll be starting with some of the people that was in the villa for the least amount of time and finishing with the finalists and the winners. So as the video goes on, it'll get more interesting, it'll get more dramatic. We'll be showing more of those memorable people. So keep watching till the end. Starting with number one, I'm going to do two islanders for this one. We're going to do the Alberti twins. We have Tony and John Alberti. These were Italian twins from Manchester. They look like this. They entered on day 3 and they left on day 6. This is what they look like now, both 36 years old. Since leaving the villa, they've become foodies. They have a food website, which they upload recipes on a regular basis. They also have a YouTube channel with food recipes on. Not as well as you would expect from two ex-Love Islanders, but still well. Each video gets around 15 to 30k views, but they've only got about 3,000 followers. Which reminds me, by the time I upload this video, I should have 4,000 subscribers, which is massive. So I just want to take a little break and say, hey, thank you so much for subscribing. 4,000 subscribers is massive. It's not massive to a lot of people, it's massive to me, so it means a lot. And if you're not subscribed, please add yourself to this community. Click that subscribe button. But back to the list, we have Rachel Christie. She was an athlete and model, 10 days in the villa. She looked like this, she now looks like this, 34 years old. Not so popular, I believe she makes a living now through being the host of a podcast called Baby's Mother Podcast. Then we have Danielle Pyne, who looked like this, and she was a West End marketing executive, lasted 13 days in the villa, now looks like this, 31 years old, and she DJs in Ibiza. Baxter. He was 20 years old when he entered the villa. He owned a personal training business in Chelsea. Only lasted 6 days. Now 28 years old, looks like this. He went on to set up a clothing brand called Blessed Say Clothing, but I believe that won a massive success and he still does the personal training thing. Williamson looked like this, lasted 18 days in the villa, now 34 years old, and he looks like this. He is one of the most successful people from Love Island Series 1. In 2018, he set up a podcast called Modern Wisdom, which became one of the fastest growing podcasts in the UK. He really separated himself from the regular post-Love Island life thing. Instead of clinging onto that and going on to do the whole social media thing and the brand deals, he went on to do his own thing, to do this podcast, which he barely ever mentions Love Island, and has grown an insane amount of listeners. And he's got this huge audience. His YouTube has over 650,000 subscribers. He's got over 260,000 followers on Instagram. He's really made something of himself since leaving it. A lot of people now know him from the podcast, not Love Island, which is a huge success, and it's kind of the aim, it's what you want to do. Then we have Daisy Muller. She was the aqua blonde haired former glamour model, lasted 12 days in the villa, now looks like this. She's 31 years old. She's a vegan foodie, but I also found out she's got this other persona, this other name, Scarlett White, which runs an OnlyFans. So now she's making money mainly, I think, from OnlyFans as Scarlett White, whilst her real self, Daisy Muller, just does like the vegan foodie thing. Then we have Bethany Rogers, and this is where things start getting interesting. She lasted 7 days in the villa. She was only 19 when she entered. Remember that because it's important. Currently, she's a mum of 1. She's a dancer and performer. She's got pretty much a non-existent social media presence, and she has outed Love Island as it ruined her life. So Bethany was a late arrival to the villa, in case you don't remember, and she was portrayed as an aggressor. She says she was put in there to stir up trouble. She's also said, I remember being about to board a plane at Leeds, and one of the producers rang me and said, Beth, you know what you've got to do? There's no point in you coming if you're not going to cause a stir in the villa. She says when she entered, she was put on standby for about 12 hours. Everyone was really drunk, and that the producers ordered them to talk to certain people to fit this narrative. She says the bit she didn't see on TV was that everyone was actually quite nice to each other, everyone was mates. But what they shown of her was her being a monster. So when she left, she turned her phone on, she received all these threats, all these death threats and all this hate. She rewatched it, realised she had been portrayed as a monster, that everyone pretty much hated her, because she was only 19 when she went in. She was gonna act in a certain way, she was gonna act immature. What she didn't deserve was all this hate from the public. She ended up being addicted to drugs, and she also was accused, then acquitted, of money laundering in a court case that spanned 4 years, as well as one count of possessing 134 megagrams of ketamine. When she left, she got into a relationship where she was physically abused. Both her and her partner was jointly buying an Audi A3 using criminal money, which is what the money laundering case is about. That's when she became addicted to ket. She then had a child and then checked herself into rehab. She's now studying psychology at university. And you've really got to take this with a pinch of salt, because a spokesman for Love Island has said that that's not the version of the events they recognise, and that all the islanders, including Bethany, was offered aftercare both at the time and in the years after their appearance. However, 3 people from Love Island have committed suicide, so the aftercare can't be that good. That being said, and one thing that sticks out to me is if you look on her Twitter, it says in her bio that she's the cast of ITV's hashtag Love Island, which is a bit hypocritical to me if she's posting about Love Island ruined my life, I finally get to speak out on all the abuse and all the hate and everything that happened in my life. It's all because of Love Island and how they portray me, but also hashtag Love Island baby, I'm on that show, I'm an islander. You know, it's a bit hypocritical. If I was abused, I wouldn't be bigging my abuser up in my bio, especially on a platform in which I'm using to bring down the show. Moving on, we've got Omar, who looked like this, lasted 20 days in the villa, now 30 years old, looks like this, and reports suggest he's working as a car dealer. Travis Almond lasted 8 days in the villa, now looks like this. He's a model, actor, personal trainer. Not seeing much from the acting side, but I've seen a lot from the modelling and the fitness side. Naomi Ball lasted 22 days in the villa, now looks like this, is 31 years old, has about 80k followers on Insta, but is private, so she lives a pretty private life. Then we have Popper. She lasted just 1 day in the villa. She was a boutique owner at the time, and she still is a boutique owner. However, interestingly enough, I was researching this, deep diving into all these people. I found this local Cheshire news article that said she was being faced with charges after allegedly driving a Range Rover with drugs in her system. That was in 2020. It might not be true, but interesting. Then we've got Ben Porter, also lasted 1 day in the villa and just seems to be living a regular, unassuming life. No social media presence, nothing going on. Just your regular, everyday job. Can't even tell you what it looks like now. Zoe Basia Brown lasted 35 days in the villa. Now we're getting into the thick of it. We're getting into those long-lasting people. 35 days in the villa, looked like this, now looks like this. She's 32 years old and she's basically disappeared. Can't find anything on her. She had a social media for a presence for a little bit after she left, but she's closed all that down. No one knows quite where she is. Where is she? Zoe? Where are you? Zoe? Zoe? Where are you, Zoe? Come let us know. What have you been doing since? What are you working on? Then we have Jordan Ring, who was partnered up with Zoe in the show for a little bit. He was known as the Hulk, and he was a groundskeeper from Gloucester. Lasted 35 days in the villa. Currently, he looks like this. He's now 39 years old. He still remains somewhat in the limelight. He's got a big online following. I believe he also dabbles in OnlyFans, but I'm not 100% on that. And he's now a club promoter over in Marbella. Now we're getting to the finalists of Love Island Series 1, starting with Lewis Morrison. He lasted 40 days in the villa. Now he looks like this, and he's 28 years old. He had a baby with the next person on this list, so there was a bit of love from that first series. Currently, he makes a living as an amateur footballer for a non-league side, Radcliffe FC. Carly Jane Beech. This is what she looked like. She was another finalist. She lasted 20 days in the villa. Now she's 31 years old. She looks like this. She's the one who had a baby with Lewis, the previous guy, which was the first ever Love Island baby. However, they are no longer together. Since the show, she released 2 singles on Spotify. She's got 500,000 followers on Instagram, and she's making a living modelling and influencing. Lauren Richardson lasted 41 days in the villa. Looked like this, now looks like this, 33 years old. But what came of this? What came after one of the first Love Island finalists, a Love Island runner-up, 41 days on our television? What happened? Well, before the show, she was a PE teacher. Currently, she is now a PE teacher. So she left, nothing really took off, she didn't get all these big brand deals, and she had to just go back to teaching PE. Then we have Josh Ritchie, another finalist, also lasted 31 days in the villa. Now looks like this, is aged 28. Now after Josh left, he did some other TV shows, like X on the Beach, Celebrity Coach Trip, and Celebs Go Dating. He actually ended up being in a relationship for a short time with Charlotte Crosby from Geordie Shore. Currently, he owns a bar called Rezzo Cocktail Lounge, as well as a health bar and kitchen in Bolton. He is yet another person who went on to join OnlyFans, but he's one of the most lucrative people who took this route. In fact, not just Love Island, but in general, he's one of the top male OnlyFans creators. So he must be making quite a lot of money from that, as well as his bar and his health lounge that he's got. He's got about 750,000 Instagram followers, which is the biggest following on this list. Next up, we've got Jon Clark. He was a runner-up, second place, lasted 41 days in the villa. Now looks like this, 33 years old. After he left the show, he went on to star in The Only Way is Essex. He was briefly suspended from the show, but rejoined it again. Currently, he helps run an Essex-based family design company called Lalina's Interiors, and most people now know him as the guy from The Only Way is Essex, not the guy from Love Island. He was partnered up with Hannah Elizabeth, the second runner-up, who lasted 41 days in the villa. Currently, she looks like this. She's now 32 years old. She's an aesthetics practitioner, a mum, and an international Playboy bunny. She also has an OnlyFans. And now we're getting on to the winners, but before that, if you're still watching, then please do like, please do subscribe. I appreciate it. So our first winner is Max Morley. He lasted 28 days in the villa. He now looks like this. He's 29 years old. He also dated Charlotte Crosby, so she's definitely got a type, you know, Love Island Series 1ers. He was also on X on the Beach, but has now stepped back from the limelight as he has a child and he's just really focusing on being a dad. And finally, we have Jess Hayes, the other winner of Love Island Series 1. She lasted 40 days in the villa. Now she looks like this and she's 29 years old. She is also a mother and she spends her time full-time influencing on Instagram. So just to recap, out of all Love Islanders in Series 1, the majority of them are just gone on to live normal lives. The second majority of them have gone on to run an OnlyFans account. And the third are still trying to like influence and do the whole modelling stuff. And they're what they're doing now. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you remember the show, if this has hit any kind of nostalgia for you, and who was your favourite, or who was the most shocking for you. Comment below, let me know.